There's a story to be told, a future to behold. There is more to who we are than what they hear. We have love within our soul, fire in our bones. We've got everything it takes to make it here. There's much more within our soil, more than just our oil. We can grow the food to feed the whole world square. Agriculture is the key. There's treasure in the trees. The time is now, the land is green, wealth is here. This is our nation, this is our land. Nigeria is ours. We have everything we need. If we could only see, the time is now, the land is green, wealth is here. There are 200 billion dreams. Anyone of this is able to begin a spark and change the world. There's innovation everywhere, from Abba to Ife to Kaduna. The land is green, the wealth is here. Yeah, this is our nation, this is our land. Yeah. Nigeria is ours. We have everything we need. If we could only see, the time is now, the land is green, the wealth is here.
If you take a look around from the north to south, there are opportunities to make it here. But if all you ever dream is to go overseas, tell me how you'll ever know that wealth is here. Oh, yeah,
This is our nation, this is our land. Oh, Nigeria is ours. We have everything we need. If we could only see, the time is now, the land is green, wealth is here. So pass on the baton, pass on the torch. Nigeria is ours. We have everything we need. If we could only see, the time is now, the land is green, wealth is here. Oh yeah. So this is our nation, this is our land. Oh yeah. Nigeria is ours. We have everything we need. If we could only see, the time is now, the land is green, wealth is here.
The Business of Agriculture Masterclass is back, and this time it's all about you. We understand how talk can look easy but become daunting with practice, and that is exactly our focus for this year. Agric in Practice. 3 days, 9 sessions, 20 plus speakers, 8 value chains. Join Agric experts from September 27th to 29th, 2022, as they discuss the best practices for maximum results in your agric venture, answer critical questions about the specific challenges you face, and teach you how to tackle those challenges to achieve more profit for your business. What's more amazing? The masterclass is free and virtual, so you can join from wherever you are. All sessions will be streamed live on Facebook and YouTube. Visit www.businessofagriculture.org to register for the Business of Agriculture Masterclass today. This is brought to you by the Private Sector Advisory Group of the UN SDG Fund.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very excited to welcome you to this session this afternoon, and I hope that you're joining also with the intention to learn, glean, and have fun. I welcome you to the Business of Agriculture, and particularly this session, the Practice of Agricultural Processing, agro-processing, and value addition. I beg your pardon. So welcome. I hope that you will relax, you will learn, you will take notes, and in particular, will be able to attend to so many of your questions, the questions that I'm expecting you bring along or you would have come along with, as well as questions that may come up as the experts begin to discuss around the topic of agro-processing and value addition. My name is Sayum Okurare, and I am the moderator for this session. So within the next 90 minutes approximated, we hope, it is my hope and expectation that we'll do justice to the subject matter. Again, I welcome you and good afternoon. Just to give a little background, you know, agro-processing in Nigeria has evolved, and it also includes, you know, the addition or the adding of value to Nigeria's agricultural produce. Value added can be in the way of providing solutions to gaps that address the issue of moving goods that are already produced from the factories to the consumers. It also involves or may include things such as machinery, perhaps funding for machineries or selling of machineries to the people who are interested, but China is out of reach for them to perhaps import or buy from. And the entire ecosystem consisting also of sub-niches, varied sub-niches. I do have seasoned panelists who will be joining this discussion this afternoon. So in order not to say everything, I'm going to begin to introduce them shortly so that they can join this discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, I have backstage a seasoned business person within this space in the person of Mr. Okewole Oyewole. He will be joining us this afternoon. Oh, brilliant. We have him here. This gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, is the team lead for Oakwall, or Oakwall. Did I get that correctly?
Absolutely, you got it right.
Oakwall Agro-Industrial Consult and Services. He is the team lead of that organization, and we're very happy to have you join us this afternoon. You're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, is Alexander Goma. Mr. Alexander, who I can see off screen already, is the CEO of Cereals, Grand Cereals, I beg your pardon, and he has joined us this afternoon to explore our discussions around the subject matter. Welcome, Mr. Goma.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
You can
and
hear us?
Just a bit of correction. I am no longer, I'm just exiting Grand Series. So just in transition out of that. Right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next person we do have on here, Mrs. Ayeni. Mrs. Ayeni is the CEO of Beam Calf Palace Nigeria Limited. Mrs. Ayeni, we're happy to have you here. Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Good morning. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. There must be, just for the laughs, there must be a lot of air conditioning where you are. It's afternoon here in Nigeria, Africa.
Oh, where I am.
Yes, where you are. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and we're really happy to have you here. The strategy or the objective of this session is to be able to give content to our viewers this afternoon that is useful. And so I would expect that we would allot a couple of good amount of time to answering questions from them directly. However, I'm going to lead us to discussing this. And for me, the first thing will be what triggered each of us to get into this space. What triggered you into the business of agriculture? And then in particular, agro-processing. We can begin with Mrs. Ayeni.
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Miss Kafilat Abimbola Ayeni.
All
And
right.
no
Thank you
problem,
so much.
fine.
I have
And
thank
sincerely, one of the things that triggered me into agro-food processing, apart from being that I'm a food lover, I think one of the things that triggered me that made me to start it is because I love value addition, and it really hurts me when I see the amount of agro produce that goes to waste in general when it's in season. And I told myself, I think if I'm in this business and I'm able to salvage a lot of agro produce when they're in season and we can sell off season, it's really going to go a long way. And since I'm someone that really loves to walk around spices, I chose onions, I chose garlic, and I chose ginger at first, and turmeric. And I've worked a lot with it, and it has really given me. I've had several experiences in being able to salvage it when it's in season that it goes to waste a lot, and store it and being able to use it late when we need it, when it is off season and it is more expensive. So that was
thank
one
you.
of the triggers.
Thank you so much. For me in particular, the reason why this question is so important is because sometimes people think that there has to be a strategic model of getting into business or
I think your network is a bit cracking. I don't know if it's for me, but is anybody here? Can anybody also hear her?
I think it's the same thing I'm getting.
Yeah, the same here too. Same here.
Let me try and make my room a bit darker. Sorry, a moment. Oh. Oh, I think maybe it's the network that's. But let's keep the house rolling, because yes, everybody has a strategy that makes them go into agro-food processing. My own is my passion, my drive, my concern for growth through agriculture was one of the reasons, apart from seeing things go bad, that made me venture into agro-food processing. And it's not been a roller coaster that I will tell you it's been a smooth ride and it's been so sweet. No, there have been so many challenges along the way, but I think everybody, the world in general, is also going into food processing, and everybody is already thinking towards that direction, that it's the only saving grace we have in the world apart from oil. And because everybody's already knowing that agro-food processing is actually going to be the saving grace for any economy that wants to actually grow. I don't know if I'm in the same um, school of thought with you, Mr. Oyiwole and Mr. Alex. Let's get the
Thank
house
you.
chicken.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for what your submissions. What I would say is basically I operate from the equipment machinery point of view, and I also operate from an overview of the value addition industry as a consulting personnel. So one of the things that actually triggers uh, my thoughts to venture into this area, and in particular, explore the value addition and processing possibilities, not just in Nigeria, sub-Saharan Africa, is like you rightly said, waste. When I see waste, I mean, for me, it's actually beyond just a passion. It's really hits my core. It hits my core deep down, especially with the background that a lot of people do not have access to what is being wasted. And so, apart from all the resources and value that go into waste, I'm more particularly and more concerned deep down about what the waste would have done. in terms of liberating the socioeconomic status of either people, industries, or anyone along downstream value chains that will benefit from those wastes. So that is actually the principal uh, kernel, as if I may put it that way, that motivates me and keeps motivating me. Thank you.
Mr. Oyewole, for me, sincerely, we are keeping the house lively. We want our viewers to be able to hear us talk, and we are not hearing you, sir. We're,
Yeah. Hello, madam. Yes, can you hear me now? Thank you so very much for keeping the house going. I'll just be picking up from Sayum.
okay.
It's raining heavily here, so I assume that yes, our network is greatly
Our
impacted.
is extreme.
So thanks for doing
Okay,
some
okay.
justice to that.
No
So we'll
problems.
move on quickly and we'll try and address some of the conversations that we have this afternoon. I know we are on into value chain and agro processing, and really we want to find out what are the practices and also what are the businesses that are there that we could tap into. So maybe let me quickly jump to, since I've heard Mr. Yewole speak and Mrs. Ayeni, I'll just jump straight to Mr. Goma. Mr. Goma, just a quick one. Are there opportunities really for people to make business when it comes to agro processing? And if there are, would you just want to share some ideas to for us and which of them we can easily tap into?
Okay, I believe that there are opportunities when it comes to agro processing. Again, the simple reason why our company and a lot of other companies that have gone into food or agro processing is simple fact that in Nigeria we're 200 million people. Every year, 6 million babies are born, and we have to feed them, right? In order to feed them, it then means that we've got to process the food that we get out of them. We cannot live on importation forever, and that's really why the opportunity arises from value addition. If you look at value addition, there are basically three different levels you can look at. The first is primary, in which case, if you take the basic raw materials, what do I do with my raw materials, either in processing them from the farm? Do I clean? Do I sort them? Do I package them? Do I grade them? And therefore, within that, there's a supply chain alone where you can actually have some benefit to say, okay, I can clean, I can process, I can grade, I can store, and therefore I can make it available for people who want to process. There's your secondary processing, which means I can go one further step later. I take these products and process them into raw materials that industries can depend on. So if I take simple thing like a grain, I mill it, and therefore I create flour which businesses, either bakeries, biscuit businesses can, or I can go the whole hog, which is tertiary processing, where I can convert into finished branded products or food that people buy already on the shelves in the market. So across the chain, there are opportunities for people to participate. The difference or the opportunities will be in terms of what are the barriers to entry at each level of this particular process. And this is what, for each person who is trying to start, will have to think of that. There are people who start primary, and then they realize that as they build scale, they get into secondary, and then eventually they find out that, okay, they have the right scale and whatever to therefore go into primary. So some of the businesses that you find that are 50, 100 years old did not start as those businesses on the tertiary scale from the onset. So there are opportunities across the chain for people to look at.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Goma. I like how simple you painted the picture and how easy it was for us to also gain very insightful knowledge about it. So I'm going to run straight to Mrs. Ayeni, and I'm going to pick you from what Mr. Goma has just said. There are three basic areas when it comes to this whole value chain thing or agro processing thing. But now we're looking for opportunities for people who have probably passive, who are actively engaged in something else but want passive income. Which of the three would you advise, of course, from your wealth of experience, that we know we can easily go into and we can make some money out of?
I usually right now think the most and the easiest one, which is the one that is more, for me, I take it as the one that you take more of investment, is the primary. When you actually, because right now these raw materials are everywhere, but the only issue we have is processing it. So I take the secondary, because it has already, somebody else has sourced this raw material. And what is actually affecting agro food processing generally is basic equipment to be able to process it. So if I will advise someone that is actually wants to dive into a business now and make liquid income, but even for export, I would say secondary processing. That is to say, you process it to a stage where the other large companies can come and buy from you and produce to find finished product, which is the easiest way to make income in agro food processing. If you listen to when I started talking, I told you I immediately chose onions, garlic, and ginger. I process them to a stage that people buy from me to now use for as finished product in their business, which is the easiest way. Now you don't have any. One of the things it takes away from you is the stress of looking for final consumer. It's the stress of looking for distributors. You are just you are a game player, and you carve your niche in such a way that when people source for raw material, they look for you. I don't know if
All
it's
right. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So for you, you would advise that for people looking for business opportunities in this space, could look into the secondary approach, or the secondary value chain approach,
and
rather than the primary that could be a little bit bulky.
it is actually the most capital intensive of all the three. Getting
Mm,
equipment
okay.
to actually do that business is most one of the most among the three is the most capital intensive.
So this is usually my question that will come much later, but because you said it's the most expensive, I'll still want to stay with you a little bit on that. To say, so I have a 1 million naira, for example. I can't obviously invest in this, right? I can't make any money out of this.
You can, like Mr. Oyewole say, agro-food processing took dived me into equipment and machineries of agro-food processing. Made me understand that you don't need to actually have trillions. There are machineries you can use, from a very mini dehydrator to the slicer to everything you need. You need just a space. Now, what may take
Okay,
it
okay, Madam Ayani, just let me stop you there. I like where you're going to, but I just want you to hold that thought. I'm coming back because I'll need you to help me analyze it in terms of numbers, so that for our participants and those listening from wherever they are, can also pick those numbers, and we can crunch it together and know how profitable is going to be. So I'm going to also help you, form your thoughts around that. So I'm going to come back. So Mr. Yewale, I'm going to come to you quickly. I know you are more into equipment and machineries, but from your own view, based on the concept that Mr. Gomad gave to us in terms of the level of agro processing and value additions that we have, from your own, again, from your wealth of experience in this industry, which will you advise a young person like me, a young banker, so to say, like me, who cannot be on the field, like Mrs. INA, for example? Where would you ask me to pitch my tent when it comes to agro-processing and value chain? Yes.
Thank you for that question. To be honest with you, it depends on two major things. How much capital, how much money do you have?
Mm,
Then, what is the comparative advantage of where your location, your intention, the location of where you intend to establish the business? For example, if you stay in areas where there are a lot of tomato waste, you might probably consider adding value in terms of processing of tomatoes. It would be wrong for you, for example, to go to Delta, Akwa Ibom side where oil palm, is in abundance, and you try to establish a processing setup, layout, processing plant that has no direct link to the comparative advantages of the raw materials produced there. So to go straight to the question again, I believe that with limited amount of money, like Mr. Eni said, secondary processing requires a lot of capital. Yes, but in my own view, I think it is easier to stay at the primary stage. I would explain. Number one, you probably wouldn't need as much as you ought to, have for secondary. And then at the primary stage, as I speak to you today, the post-harvest losses indices in Nigeria across board. And when I mean across board, I mean across various value chains. Arable crops is huge. There's still a lot of waste that is going on at the producer communities, agrarian communities. So a young man who is enthusiastic, has little capital, has passion, the first assignment is to go to where these things are produced and wasted. Now, saying that you have an idea of how much is being wasted in social community per year. Now, the next thing is look for what can I do? And is there a market for it? Market basically divides into three, in my own opinion. We have the domestic market, we have the industries, and of course, we have the export market. Domestic market, I mean local market. Export is outside, and then industry generally, either domestic or export. So who do you want to produce for? Is it to the industries? Because you could actually produce, not necessarily for consumption by human. You could actually produce as an industrial feedstock to industries. Or do I actually want to export, or do I want to partner with a company that's into exports? Do I want to put my money into a company that is exporting? Or do I actually want to produce food to the community, to the local community, within your state, within your community, within the country? And if you are producing domestically, you have to also consider three things. Number one, what kind of product do you want to produce? Is it a new innovative product that has not been produced before? Or is it a product that you just want to add more value to it and makes it unique among other products similar to that? Or you want to produce product principally for the industries, which have their own quality parameters. So when you have identified that, then you can now begin to realize, where will my money play? Like I said, this is still at the primary processing.
Okay. All right.
Where
So
will my
let me
money
just
play?
cut your thoughts there.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So I think now we
Thank
have a
you.
nexus of secondary coming from Mrs. Ayani, and then primary coming from Mr. Ayowale. Mr. Alex Goma, I would like to go again to you now. And my question again is very strategic because of the way and manner you've helped articulate and shape this conversation. Mr. Ayowale emphasized a lot about waste, waste, and waste. From your own point of view and your wealth of experience in this industry, would you say waste is the major reason why we need to go into agro processing and value addition, or you see it as a paradigm shift when it comes to articulating agribusinesses for better profits generation?
Okay, before I answer that, I have a bit of a comment on the previous question, which might
Awesome.
help people, because I think in the last question you talked about passive income.
Yes.
I think any business that you try to do, right, that is not investing and somebody else manage it, and you think of passive income, you're likely to get failure. And that is why a lot of people have had their fingers burnt in trying to do business passively, whether primary, whether secondary, whether tertiary. So except if you're going to do it, so I'm not going to say one is easier than the other. Even if you're just buying commodities to resell, so long as it's a very tiny scale, you might get away with giving somebody else to do it for you. But eventually you will have stories that touch, which is what we have seen, and which is why a lot of people have been burnt, right? And therefore have not gone into agriculture. So if you have some money that is spare, it is good to do due diligence. You might find there are businesses who are probably starting and doing well primary, but they have some challenges of finance. Can I therefore invest? And are they doing a good job? Therefore, I know that I get my return. And yes, your investment grows, and therefore you can, when you're ready to move out, you're understanding the business and to run full time, you can do that. Same thing with secondary, same thing with tertiary. One of the ways a lot of Nigerians have lost money is the fact that we think that we can put just drop it aside. The trust quotient is very low in the society. So it's very difficult if you don't have properly run businesses for you to have your money work for you, and you will come back to meet it. So that said, I think the main advantage for doing processing is simply the question of value addition. Money is simply a means of exchange and store of value. The more value you create, the more wealth you can generate. So if we look at all the crops, okay, yes, cocoa, we farm cocoa, Ghana farms cocoa, Ivory Coast farms cocoa. If you look at the total value of what is sold as primary product and what is sold as chocolate in Switzerland or in France, you can see where the real bulk. Same thing with oil. You know, we export crude oil, we end up buying expensive petrol and diesel, right? So anywhere, any industry, so not just limited to agri, where you add value, there's more money to be generated, there's more wealth to be created. That's why it's critical. That's one area. It's about wealth. I think the second area is also about food security and nutrition. The more you create value, the more you can improve the quality of food that you have access to the population, and the better the wealth, the development of our young people. So I think if we look at it from those perspectives, then it is easier to understand that this is the way we can drive value.
All right, thank you so very much. Again, well said, very crisp and very clear. I see Mrs. Ayani also nodding and affirming some of the things you've mentioned. So, if I would just speak one phrase, and I think I want to ascribe it to Mr. Alex Goma and say, Mr. Alex Goma 2022, in his words, he says, no passive income. So, in a way, say passive income is no income in the real sense. Now, we're referring to the Nigerian context. I don't know elsewhere, maybe in the US where you are, it could be very operational. But in Nigeria, the real sense of it, passive income, you might give me the money and I see iPhone 14 next. And tomorrow, like in his words, I begin to say story that touch, rather than give you information. So, Mother Mayani, I know I'd mentioned to you earlier, I wanted you to crunch some numbers. But before we get there, there was a critical conversation in terms of the opportunities that Mr. Alex has spoken about. And he did say that if you had some money, rather than throw it as a passive income in quote, you might want to look into organizations and businesses that are struggling and in a particular area along the value chain where you could throw investment to and get some profit. So my question is, I know you are very much in the field and you're very much practicing around this. Do you think businesses are open enough to give information around where they are struggling for people to invest, particularly when they know the level of return there is a little bit high? And
Okay.
if yes, how can we identify them and tap into it?
Okay, when I first started, I'm part of those school of thought then that was not open in where I'm struggling. And like you said, I do my business in Nigeria. I'm just here for hunger, that's the United Nations General Assembly.
Oh, okay, assembly, yeah.
Came around to tap into opportunities I could get and also to seek distributors for my products in the United States, which one way or the other I have gotten some. And in all sincerity, I'm not also of a school of thought of a passive investor. Because I know it will fail as it begins. I've had people come to discuss how much their business failed almost immediately they started, and I've always asked them, I don't know how you run your business, but one of the things we don't put into our businesses is time. And truly, yes, if you ask me, and I'm talking as an SME now, not in the level at which Mr. Goma is playing. Most of us don't come up to tell you where the shoe pinches, because some people will tell you if they tell an investor where the shoe pinches, they don't really want to invest. They just see it as an business. But I think it has really helped me. Let me give you an example. Last week I had to pitch to an investor, and while I was pitching, they were looking at my products on Instagram, they were going to YouTube, listening, and I told them, this is very beautiful color that you are seeing and you're so amazed I'm doing all this thing. That's not my reality. I had to tell them that's not my reality. In my reality, there is fire on the mountain. In my reality, there is serious financial stress that I need support to be able to uplift my progress. I told them I have been revolving around one stage of production. When I started my business, that my mentor told me, you need other people's money to grow your business.
Yes.
If you continue like this, you will remain and you'll be in a particular stage and you will remain in that player. You won't grow. I looked at him and said, he wants me to go and borrow money. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm not
Mm.
calling anybody on my business. Anytime he says it, I would listen, but once he just go, I will tell myself in my mind, I'm not doing.
Yeah, not doing.
But when I realized growth is not like that. Except you want to maintain, you want to be at a very certain level, and you don't intend to grow your customer base beyond that way. If you intend to grow, you will definitely need people to be part of your investment. And so one of the things I did was to tell those people, please don't look at the very beautiful packaging, the market you see, the comment you hear. You need to know that we have gotten to a stage that we need finance. We need what do you call it? Training. We need investors that will come in with intellectual property to help us grow beyond the level. We need the game changers, not me anymore. It's not about Kafilat. It's now going to be about what the business wants, not what I want or how I even tabled it down in my business plan. So I think entrepreneurs need to give room for people to listen and believe that when they say these problems out, they are they are going from whatever level they are to the next level they are supposed to be, because that is the only way for growth.
Mm. Awesome. Thank you very much. So I think you called your name, you called yourself by your first name, and I think I like that name. So I want to keep to Madam Kafilak. I think that sounds very, very great to me now. So I'm just going to run straight to Mr. Oyewole before I go back to Mr. Arekuma on a very important conversation. It appears now that from all the conversations we are having, it is very difficult. There are opportunities, no doubt. You've elucidated on that in all the conversations. But does it seem it's looking to me like it's not a value chain that young people should be aspiring to be in? So Oyewale, yes, I'm just trying to pick my tent now. So Oyewale, would you want to just pick that before I go to Mr. Alex with the same question, please?
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you for that question. As I speak to you, I have quite a number of friends who are planning, probably in the next 3 to 6 months, to go into uh, processing and value addition. Perhaps they are probably on this in this meeting. So there are young people going. But the truth is, because of the limitations in access to capital, because it's always important to understand how you intend to raise your funds at the initial stage. You might not have the network in terms of friends and families to raise that. So what we're discussing right now is how innovative your idea is. If it is that innovative as a value addition with that value addition prospect, so we come from the knowledge point of view. We begin to write articles, we begin to write writings based on that area we intend to, and then we apply for grants. We apply for funds, not necessarily loans. That's one strategy. Another strategy is that we call ourselves together and then we raise funds within ourselves as partners for
Okay.
that value addition operation. Of course, initially at a limited scale. Not, we always believe
Mm.
start small, be consistent, and grow big. And so value addition is really you need to understand many things. And so rushing into that area is yeah, could be dangerous, and really a lot of people have burnt their fingers. So you need to understand your raw material supply model, consistent raw material supply model. You need to understand your market. You need to understand the kind of process equipment you intend to use. What is the availability, spare parts availability? What are the maintenance costs? What kind of branding do you want to use? What kind of management do you want to operate? What kind of
Okay.
production costs do you have? How do you limit your production cost to maximize profit? How do you eliminate or reduce considerable energy cost?
Okay.
and
All right,
so on
Mr.
and so
Yole,
forth.
I see you're getting very passionate about this conversation. It's making a lot of sense. So, Mr. Goma, my question to you is the same question I asked, but now I want to up that question a little bit. And Madam Kafilat, I also want you to take note because I'll be coming back to you on that. Still around, can young people go into this? That's still the question. But a nexus to it now is, can you also marry or give us some clarifications around these conversations? Agro-processing and capital, agro-processing and scale. Because that conversation also came out to the fore in the conversation, and is looking more and more like, as a young man, as a young woman, it's not one of the value chains that you'll be thinking about. I know you will shake your head again, but that's the way it's looking at. So you can help us demystify this at the moment. Thank you, sir.
I think it is something that young people can get into. I think the point we're trying to raise, and I think it's also one of the challenges we find with entrepreneurship, is that everybody always talks about entrepreneurship and tells you it seems as if within 6 months your problems are solved. And so when you go in with that mindset, I have a popular saying, expectation is the mother of disappointment. You end up being disappointed. I think what we're trying to let people understand is that this is something that is viable, but you shouldn't think of it from a short-term perspective, right? I was in the US recently for an agric kind of conference workshop, and we visited certain businesses. One of the businesses is family owned, and it's the seventh generation that is involved in that particular business. Seven generation. In fact, I took a picture which I said, okay, I need to keep this. There was a tractor on that farm which was still working, and that tractor was born the same year I was born, 1967, and the tractor is still working. So I took a photograph to say, okay, this is a tractor as old as I am that is still working. I think so. It's the mindset. I think we've got to let people understand there's no easy money on the streets. The only easy money is money that is stolen value from people. There's no easy money. That said, yes, there are barriers, there are challenges of capital, but there are ways to solve them.
Okay.
Right? You can form through people, you can go through the different banks. Okay, Bank of Agriculture. There are banks that are doing zero interest banking today, which means if you have the right portfolio, the right setup and everything, they will help you. And like you said, and Mr. Oyewole said, if you start small, you can start to build on that basis and grow. The most important thing is to have clarity of vision of where you want to go. And from day one, start with the right structure, right? To understand that, okay, this is how I'm going to grow my business. And therefore you can start doing that. We also we like to go on long distances alone. They say if you want to travel far, go with somebody. I think it's something we've got to get used to, partnerships. Before this conference, I actually had, just before we started this session, I went to have a short meeting with a young person I mentor who is into agro-processing, right? To say, okay, what are the steps? Where have we got into? What have you done and whatever? So I think it's something that can be dealt with. So things like capital, things like infrastructure, you can do that. Why must I own my own factory? There's somebody who is started who has spare capacity, who can actually produce for me. And therefore, yes, I may not own it, but you know what? The cost might be higher at the initial stage, but it might be easier. Must I own my own warehouses? Must I have my own buying? The aggregators who are currently doing this. So there are ways you can counter the impact of, okay, working capital, the requirements for equipment and things like that, if you choose to partner from the onset and then you start to grow. If you also find other like minds and you work together with them, you might find out that it is easier for you to handle. But I think the key thing that makes people run away, or rather they don't understand and therefore they run into trouble, is they think that, okay, I just collected this 2 million naira, I have this 5 million naira. If I put it in 6 months' time, I will start to. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. So I think it's critical for people to understand the opportunity exists and will continue to grow so long as, look, we're having 6 million people born every year. That's the equivalent of the Scotland every year being born in Nigeria, right? So if you think from that perspective and you start to say, okay, this is how I want to do, start small, build big. Can I partner with other people? Can I work with people who are existing? Can I do due diligence? You can't, you can give people money to manage for you, but you cannot outsource your decision making or your thinking to say, I went through these parameters before I decided to go this this way. This is not Bitcoin. This is not those things that you just you sit and listen. The easiest way you want to make money passive is to put your money in the stock exchange or funds. You don't get the right kind of, you may get some channel, but you know that, okay, you're leaving people, that's their business to manage, and you can go to sleep if you chose the right companies with the right governance who have the right kind of returns. But if you want to go the whole hog, there's a series of things you've got to do. So the fact we're highlighting the challenges or the risk or what is required is not to scare people, is to prepare them, right? It's fear is a good instinct because it stops you from making mistake. So, but if you are immobilized by fear, then you don't move forward. And the antidote to fear is knowledge, because fear is based out of ignorance. So the more knowledge, the more understanding you have, then the more you can deal with the challenges of fear or failure that comes with the particular business.
All right. Thank you so very much. I think well said. Madam Kafilat, you might just want to respond again. I know myself and yourself, we've been having shaking of head earlier, so you might help me just clear that as well. Yes.
When they got the big guns on the market, grain cereal, he's talking me, Mr. Alex Goma, I should keep quiet and listen and learn. I don't really judge, but anytime he talks, I'm writing. Anytime Mr. Oyeri talks, I'm writing. So I'm like in school right now, trying to get knowledge from even the people that have better experience than I do. But let me chip in something on what you said about agro-food processing capital or agro-food processing scale up or something. Let me chip in something. One of the things entrepreneurs these days need to learn how to let go, or need to learn how to do, is to find little players, big players in the market who already have this facility, like Mr. Alex said, and are willing to share. We run our facility as a shared facility. And we do that. We've been doing that for the past 3 years. It has been a slow sales because everybody wants to have a factory. Everybody wants to run business. But in all sincerity, we all can have this equipment. We all can run at the same level. As a startup, it is, for me, is the best business right now for any young person to go into, is agro-food processing. Be it that you want to be in the primary, you want to be in the secondary, you want to be in the tertiary. It's the most lucrative business. Some people don't even produce anything. I've been to several distributors in the US. They don't produce anything. I just got to know that Goya actually hardly produce anything. Goya has everything, including salt in the US, including beans, including rice, including palm oil, including malt. They don't do these things. But they already have a structure, which is marketing. Their name has gone far. So if you are branded in that name, you will automatically sell. It will go global. People will buy. So sometimes you just need this person that is a processor, that is willing to let you brand, or that maybe you brand for them and work with them. So when I came into this state, I won't lie to you, I came with the focus of I want to sell my brand. I came with the focus of it is bean calf I want people to see on the shelf. In the last 3 days, it has changed. And I will tell you why. The first person that ordered my brand in my name is not up to $1,000. I was excited. Okay, when another game changer came and told me, I want this product. I already have this documentation in the United States. I already have these buyers. And I want to buy from you in tons. I want to ask you a question. He even told me, we will share with you our label, produced and packed by Beamcap, but we want it to carry our name. A question I will ask: am I not supposed to? Am I not supposed to play this game? I immediately calculate my profit. What I did was I looked at the stress of packaging into my brand and coming to US and start marketing afresh has been taken off me completely. And that is what entrepreneurs don't like doing. The man laid emphasis and told me one thing, that he has worked with several people from Nigeria. When they bring sample, they tend to give them something else
The
when it's
best.
time for them to give the main product. I told him no. In as much as my name is on that label, I have a lot at stake. I saw products stacked up. They say they are not, the people are not buying. When they had the first batch, that was just 100 kg, it was very good quality. But when this Nigerian sent a container load, it was zero. It took me to where they kept it. Nobody, people that bought are returning. It showed me the ones people have returned. And this is something we need to learn. Yes, we want to be in business. We want to do agro-food processing. Consistency in the quality of your product to keep you in market is key. I'm 5 years old in business. By February next year, I'll be 6 years old. So I'm 5 years plus. And I must tell you, one of the things we've done and we're still doing is that we've been so consistent with the spice we produce. And I try to tell people, because of the way I extract my coconut oil, which I intentionally label it on my label, it could give you a slight yellow color now, give you very clear white now. You know why? Because it is an expeller press, and only the species of coconut change the color I get. And people who understand that this process can give you different shades, understand it. That's why I intentionally put it on my label, so I don't get to have so much explanation to do to customers. And not every customer will come back to talk to you directly. All these little things are things entrepreneurs are supposed to put in place. You must not be your producer. You must not be even your raw material sourcer. Your game may just be, I am for the profit. I want Madam B to help me produce. I want Madam B to package. And I want Mr. A to source this raw material. All we want to do is that the value addition process should be achieved. The major, what I want is my money, my profit. What you are gaming for is your money. All of us has to be able to meet at certain point and achieve one day profit making and value addition in agro-food processing.
Processing.
I am in the market. I sell bit by bit. The lowest of my product is 30 naira. And people get to think it is easy. Trust me, when you mention alternative energy, Mr. Oyewole, one of the things that kills business right now is not being able to have alternate your energy source. Not we all survive on diesel in Nigeria. Not all equipment can survive on solar. This year will have been a game changer for me by February. We were already counting. Imagine for 5 years, I've not counted numbers. For 5 years, I've been failing and making sure I continue. Well, sometimes we get to the least of the ground. But I used to tell my staff, we are not there growing. We are getting somewhere. The fact that we were able to sell 10,000 pieces last week, and this month we sold 11,000 pieces, meaning that people are getting used to the product, and we're getting, well, yes, and people are knowing us. Trust me, when diesel became 400 and something, I almost crashed. Not knowing to still get to 800. Plus, imagine 400, I was running crazy. When it became 400, it's difficult for us to give the big game players can wake up and change their price. And the market will play along and accept. But for an entrepreneur, I must confess to you, it takes a lot. I, for one, I want to tell you, I had to do it. When I was in my price, I wrote it there that it is my price for the next 2 weeks. Anything can still happen. When supermarkets turned down our prices, I re-strategized marketing plan. I read marketing. You see me, I'm into food processing, but I studied marketing. I immediately told my staff, okay, fine. Let's play the game from this side of the market. We went to open market. We started selling to people in the market. So if the supermarket is seeing us selling in the market and they don't want to buy from us, buy from the market is more expensive. They came
Right.
they came back and that's because I know the game changers in the market will always change their game. But
Yeah.
you as an entrepreneur, you have to make sure you carve your niche where you know no matter how much they want to fight you or they want to shift your balance, you must always make sure there is a space understood for you to sit. No matter how, yeah, it's not easy. I'm saying it now very rosy. I've not mentioned the times I've cried, but I am still telling you that if I could stay and I am in the market and for 5 years, I could not sit down and tell you I broke even. You should know it is because I know it is going to get better. And it is because I know I am still going to get there. It is because
All
I
right.
I did not start with the school of thought of making money immediately as I'm starting.
Immediately. All
So
right. Thank you very much. I see your passion, and thank you very much. In a very short time you spoke, it was very evident that, you were not passive. You were
no,
very, very active running this. And I think in your passion and in the enthusiasm that came also from you, it was very clear that, it's something that is really, really there to you, and you want to drive it fully. I'm very glad that you thought it wise to share with us those experiences. And I'm sure that for everybody also joining, this is it's just a tip of the iceberg, that, it's a profitable business, no doubt,
yeah,
but
sure.
there are ups and downs that you should also be very, very, ready to face, ready to meet. I just want to say this to all panelists before I go to my next set of questions. And I'm throwing you again, not throwing you under the bus now, but I'm putting you on the spot that, if we have participants who are willing to have you as mentors or have you as advice, would you be willing to spare some 1 minute, 2 minutes of your time anytime that is most convenient for you to also help mentor some of our panelists or our participants? I beg your pardon. Just a nod would give me that affirmation. Ah, awesome. Thank you very much. So if you're watching us from anywhere in Nigeria and you would like to have any of our panelists support you in any way, don't go for financial support anyway, but they could link you up, in the long run, more on mentoring and helping you to grow your business, because that's the main idea of these sessions, really. Please just do well to put your name on the chat. I would advise you just put your email. We will communicate with you. PSAG will communicate with you via email, and then we'll be able to link you up um, with the mentors. So a quick question, and I would like to throw this to Mr. Alex, and then I'll come back to Mr. Oyewole. It appears that from our conversation, it looks like no young person can effectively go into agro-processing without requiring support. I know it looks like I'm coming back to that question, but I know in most of the conversation we've had here, it looks like there is a lot that is needed. So, is it possible within the value chain for someone to go into it, even if it's for the interim, at the interim basis, maybe first 3, 4 years? Is it possible to go in with a little cash and then you're able to thrive? And if not, then what do we need to look into? Do we need to start first? Because partnership came out very strongly also in that conversation. Do we need to say, if I need to go into agro processing, then I need to look for a partner from the very beginning? Or is it something I can go into and then over time I can grow into partnership? And if yes, if you want to put some caveats to it to say, how much do I require to go into maybe the very little or the very cradle agro processing or value addition I can go into at the moment? Mr. Alex Goma, I think you're very experienced in this. We'd like to hear from you. Thank you, sir.
I think for me, I wouldn't want to restrict it to young people, because the assumption is, look, you have young people who have access to capital, and therefore some of the. So I think that the point is that there are certain requirements. You can go into processing depending on, one, how much money you have, and how much is the particular, I mean, the particular industry or the particular type of agro products that you want to use. So take something as simple as grains, right? If you decide that I want to buy grains, okay, I will clean and bag the grains, and therefore I will move the grains from point A to point B. It is easy for you to do depending on who your target audience is. If it's a small scale industry which requires small quantities, you can do that and you can be profitable. You can make some money because the operation is very simple and easy. Same thing if you want to do some basic level of processing. Okay, I need a simple grinder or blender that will blend my product into a secondary stage. Some people can do that out of their houses. Again, depending on the industry, I might be supplying one eatery or one shop, something like that, and therefore you can do that. And there's some, I think the real requirement comes to when you want to have scale. So it is when you want to expand that you then say, how do I go in the process? Because if you stay small, it will still be a small cycle, right? Yes, you're able to pay yourself some stipend, but how do I grow skill? So it's not limited to young people. It's the fact that where do I want to go next, and what is the level of scale do I want to? I'm a firm believer, even if it is, even for the big businesses, what I've seen in the past, in a lot of my experience, even if you want to launch a new brand, we will do small, you will pilot, and then you will see that it works. You learn the lessons and mistakes, and you go. So sometimes when you find a business that is 50 years, 60 years, and it seems as if they know everything. No, we don't know everything. We make mistakes. The only thing is the fact that you can have one blockbuster, right? Pay for your next 10 mistakes. So, yes, when we launch a brand and it doesn't work in the market, you don't hear about that. But the fact is, it is your success that is paying for the various, numerous new trials, and then you get another blockbuster, which then pays for more. So, start small, but with the right mindset, with the right foundation, and therefore you can start to expand and you add to the growth. Some of the things we talked about, partnerships and things like that, are to give you options to navigate through the challenges of, do I have scale? Do I not have enough capital and things like that? So you can start very small. It's just that the returns will be very small. There's a point with which you will have to scale up. And when you get to that point where you need to scale up, the question is, how will I fund the scaling that I need to have? Even for big businesses, we have the same this thing. The only difference is the fact that big businesses have history, right? Therefore, the banks will trust us. The more the banks will give us a lot of this thing. But there's a simple way a lot of people shoot themselves in the foot. I always tell people, if you're starting a business from day one, separate the finances of the businesses from your own finance. So there's a record. If I sold only 10 naira, then the records are clear and everything is there. If I build that profile with a bank or whatever, what they will see is the principle. Okay, these people sell 5 cartons, the 5 cartons go into the account. There's a way they account for everything and it's worked out. You don't mix your own money. I want to buy a Coke, I take it from the business account. No, separate. Instead, pay yourself a salary from that, and then you can take from that to buy the Coke or whatever. Because the banks or the finance people who are going to finance your business, once they see its history or that you have run your business well with the right governance structures, no matter how small it is, that's when they know that, okay, we can give this person. They say if you are faithful with small, you demonstrate that, okay, you will be faithful with large. So it's to look at those particular processes and structures that you put in place that ensure that when you go to talk to people, they will tell you, this is what we want to see. We want to see your books, right? Some people have been running their businesses, their accounts are not clear, their accounts are not audited. You don't need a giant software. You can run it on Excel. But the principle is the business should be separate from you. Pay yourself a salary, so whatever you're going to spend or whatever, it's coming out of that, but show clearly that the business is separate from you. I hope that helps.
Awesome. It does help. In Mrs. Kafila's words, I also have my note full each time you speak. And again, it's coming from your wealth of experience in this value chain, and we're very glad that you are on this call. And as I'm also very sure that all our panelists can also have a testament to this. So I'd just like to notify that if you have questions, please, you can drop them in the chat box. We'll get them live here and we'll be able to address it. If you also choose to address it to any particular panelist, please feel free to do that. We'll be able to pick it and shoot to them. A lot of things have been said, but I'm just trying to have my pitch when I'm concluding this session, so I can marry all the words that have come from all these great minds, and then it looks like, oh, I am very knowledgeable. I'm also writing notes. I hope you all know. So I'm going to go to Mr. Iwole. I know you are in the field where you do a lot in terms of machinery. So what can I do? So for example, I have ₦1 million. Can I come and invest in machineries? You might say I like quick money. I'm a young boy. You should know, obviously, from my face. And how long do you think, if I try an investment, say a ₦1 million investment, what kind of machines will I be able to, have available? And what kind of returns does it also give me? Yeah, just want to get some ideas.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Uh, I will understand from the point of view that you intend to use the money to get some machines to process. Am I right?
So I'm not, no, I just want to know, I want to come into your value chain across that
Okay,
agro-processing, which is maybe
okay,
fabricating. I don't have the machines, but okay, what can I invest in 1 million, and what kind of returns will I get?
okay, okay, thank you. Now, the point is investing in machinery is a little bit different, if I may say it that way, from investing in processing. Because usually machinery, they are not clothes, they are not books, they are not daily uses. It's a capital investment, and in most cases, machineries are made by demand, because machineries, as they come into the market, comes with specifications, including capacities, including what kind of prime movers are going to drive them. And these specifications, different specifications and capacities, address specific markets. So, for example, someone can say, okay, fine, I want to have a cassava grater that can do 1 ton per hour. And another person might say, okay, fine, I want to have a cassava grater that can do 3 tons in an hour. So you cannot make a cassava grater that is 1 ton, and then you discover that maybe it is 3 tons that your market demands. That cassava grater that you have just made is a waste. So in most cases, except you just want to have something to display, for marketing, in most places, it is demand driven because of the specifications required and the technical expertise required. Because as the capacities increases, some of the designs of the machines will increase, or will change. And so investing in machinery is not a cast in stone. It's something that comes with the demand. So the important thing is that after you've understand the knowledge, except you want to invest in a fabrication company, if you're starting it, then you must have the knowledge. I did agric engineering in the university, as my undergraduate, and I did value addition, crop processing, and storage in my graduate studies. So if you don't have that basics, there will be challenges because it's a technically encroached value chain.
Yes.
But however, there are also chains. There are also chains. People that supply the raw materials, the metal sheets, the stainless sheets, people that supply the bearings, some people supply the prime movers. A good number of these things are imported. However, what fabricators, engineers, technicians do is the knowledge, to bring some of these raw material pieces together and then to form a particular product that is addressing a particular need. So going back to your question, to invest in this is like we've already mentioned earlier. It's either you have a company that is already into that, and then you have to be sure that they have consistency in market demand, because you might not have. It isn't like processing. You can actually produce, and then when the market comes, you just store in your warehouse. Some of the shelf life of your products can stay a year, 6 months, 2 years and above, and then you can just pick them from your warehouse and then sell to the market. Machinery isn't like that. When you tie your capital down in machinery, it's not it's not something someone just come around and say, okay, fine, I want to get a machine that is 500 kilogram per hour, made of stainless steel, has this diameter, has this prime mover, uses this. It's difficult to have someone that will ask for that, and you already you pre-plan that, and then you make the machine. However, there's some generic equipment, generic machineries that by and large people order for. But like I said, you have to be sure that you have consistency of that product, before you invest. So machinery development is usually demand driven, research driven, and need driven. Not necessarily something you just push up into the market for people to buy.
All right. Thank you really for educating us there around what is obtainable when it comes to that. So I'm just on YouTube now, and I'm trying to get some questions and also seeing some comments that are coming up. So Mr. Oyewale, question, not a question, just like a recommendation. And it says, can Mr. Oyewale help with info or link on Gary processing equipment? Yeah, thank you so very much. I think that's coming from Tony Oluwayemi. Yeah, so just note that. I'll also want you to respond to that again. So someone also says, I assume that they are directing this to Madam Kafilat. It says, I like to start rice and onion supply. How can I have customers? Okay, oh, you just want to collect all her customers she has built over 5 years. Anyway, if you want her to be your mentor, just put it on the chat so that we can have that, and then we can see how to also reach out to her going forward. Okay, awesome. I think for now those are some of. Okay, another one came. Is there any way BOA can help in procurement of equipment? I want to understand what you mean by BOA. Do you mean Bank of Agriculture, or do you mean Business of Agriculture? So you could just help refresh that, Tony, so that we know who you are referring to, and then maybe we could get support in response to that. So I think that was very nice from us. So we're wrapping up. We still have some few minutes. So I'll say if there are specific questions, again, just like to reiterate, you can throw them in very quickly so that we can have our panelists do justice to that. We can move forward. Just to remind, Madam Kafila is, she's way, 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 way ahead. Let me not use the word behind. I'm using ahead. I know she understands my point in terms of our current time zone. So one
No,
is, yeah.
I'm actually in the morning, and I
Oh,
have
yeah.
questions for Mr. Oyewale, so that's why I'm waiting. I raised my hand.
Oh, fantastic. I will get to that point. Ah, this is very interesting. The panelist asking the panelist. This is
Yes.
this is what we really like, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So the $1 million question now, I like to always ask. Madam Kafila, I started with you earlier on, and I want you to help put perspective to it and put numbers into it in the very, understandable way for somebody like me who has practically no idea about anything. You know, I have ₦1 million. Can I make money out of it? Can you just churn me the numbers and then let me see whether it's something I want to do or something I don't feel comfortable on?
Okay, if you have ₦1 million and you want to start an agro-food processing company,
Yeah.
and you want me to start, let me ask the question quickly. Do you want me to start from this certain type of equipment you need to the type of raw material you want to seek, or you want me to focus on the product you want to do?
Okay, so I just want you to focus on, we like money as young people. So I just want you to focus on the money. How much am I investing? Then maybe you can just give example, machinery 10%, this 10%, and then production maybe 5%. Okay, at the end of the day, yes, I just want that kind of analysis.
Okay, at the end of the day, you might not quickly get your analysis that you want, as in your profit. Trust me.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
For a cottage industry,
Yeah.
where you need just like NAFDAC standard says, you need just a room that you can divide into five, where you have your cloakroom, your raw material room, your processing room, your packaging material room, and your finished products. Just like that. Make sure that there's no toilet inside your small space. I don't know, but let me just use a suburb where you can get maybe a space of 200,000. Basically, I would tell entrepreneurs that what I tell people, one of the things that go into extreme waste when it is available is plantain. It goes into extreme waste. I know mango goes into extreme waste, tomato goes into extreme waste. But I want to do the one that I know that is we have in Nigeria, and is an healthy food that is highly exportable. You can actually get a small dehydrator, either locally fabricated or the imported ones, which other way, but you can get a dehydrator within maybe 10 to 23, which can cost you between 200 to 400,000. And I usually tell people you can get a manual slicer that can actually slice this plantain for you, which is within 100,000 naira. And you can get the one that is locally fabricated, which might be cheaper or even more. Because one of the reasons why our machines are more expensive in Nigeria is we import all these
Parts.
parts to couple them together to make them usable. So I've mentioned a space of 200,000. I've told you to buy the dehydrator of between 200 to 400,000,
Yeah.
and you're buying a slice of 10,000. You can actually budget to start with a head of the head of plantain in the market where we buy is about 12 bunches. You can decide to say, well, I'm doing 12 or 15,000, or I'm doing 30,000 naira worth of plantain to process. And you now think of the kind of packaging you want to give yourself. You buy a sealing machine. Don't even start with a band sealer. Start with the manual one. You can press down and seal, and gives you what you want. Now, when you do this, don't forget you don't have NAFDAC number. So you want to start to sell to your family and friends. Those are the people that will test the quality of your product and tell you you're wrong immediately, and tell you that you're doing good, almost tell you that, oh, this is better. Oh, you should, why is your product expensive? Don't forget to remind them that you're just starting small. You might not be able to buy raw material at the level where somebody that goes to the farm gets a truck buy. And one of the things I'll tell you is that if you notice from all this calculation, you've not spent up to 1 million naira.
Yes.
Because you're selling to your family and friends, you might make a little bit of profit. You can, yes, you can make maybe your capital investment is your rental, your equipment.
Yeah.
They've taken more than half of this money. What you will be calculating your profit on is on your 30,000 naira. And while you're calculating your money, don't forget there's wear and tear on your machine. Because one of the things entrepreneurs forget entirely is that you're still coming back to service this equipment. You're still coming back to work on them if they have issues. We forget completely and quickly take up this 300 naira, 200 naira we make as profit. At the beginning, you can actually put that chunk as profit too, 200 naira. It's a whole lot of money for me on one product. I don't think I have any product that have 200 naira because it's a whole lot of money. That's mean your target is not turnover. When you say you want to sell something and make 3 naira, 5 naira, 4 naira, and you're thinking of selling 1,000,000 pieces, and you are trying to sell something and make 200 naira and sell 100 pieces, me and you, we are not on the same pedestrian.
Yes, absolutely.
We are not at all. And I must confess to you, gone are those, yes, I am a food processor, and it has led me into equipment sourcing because I started with burning my fingers severally on equipment. But to God be the glory, we have people like Mr. Yumole now talking about how they can help us create a very solid made in Nigerian equipment. And I am here to tell you that if you get a good fabricator, a very good one that understands the difference between a dehydrator and a dryer, they are two different equipment. I don't use dryers, I use dehydrators because I need all the nutrients of my product to be retained.
To remain.
And I process my product purely from dehydrators. I have different shapes and different sizes, including both fabricated and imported. But we burnt our fingers before we got it right. So I will advise entrepreneurs to seek properly for the right equipment to use. You can start small. People buy as small as 6 tray dehydrator just to start drying of meat in their house to see how this kilishi business is. You can what I just mentioned now. People buy, I have a lady who bought very tiny dehydrator to start drying tomato. And now I am so happy for her that she was working for one of these big companies. And she kept telling me that her passion is to have her own business. Her passion is to have her own business. I just thought one day she just told me she needs to start drying tomato. She has gone around the market, she has seen what is there. And I told her all the best. We've had people who have ventured into this thing with even lesser than 1 million. And they are good, they grow. One of the things like Mr. Goma said is you must separate your business money from your personal money. When I borrow my business money, I send it to the business account and put loan. And I will tell them I'm borrowing you because I'm not taking interest. And I will expect people to pay me back. They know, my workers used to laugh. I lay emphasis on I loan you this money. Like I will be laying emphasis. It's not easy. Like I like when Mr. Goma said, make that statement of being audited. I, for one, I was guilty of running my business through my personal account for years until I understood the what I am losing as an entrepreneur. So you must first of all know that 30,000 you invest in plantain, you must plunge back both the profits and the capital
Capital
to
back.
increase your volume of production. You must plunge it back.
Mm.
Because when you're going back to the market, I wouldn't expect you to remain the same. I will expect you to say, the first time I bought plantain, I bought 30,000 naira plantain. As I'm going now, I'm buying 40,000 naira plantain, or I'm buying 35,000 naira plantain. Something must be different. And you must keep, that's when you can outline. That money is not coming to your pocket to spend. But what are you doing? You're growing bit by bit. And before you know, that 30,000 can translate to 300,000, can translate to 3 million. But it depends on you and the discipline you give yourself. Most of this business, you must not really say at the beginning, you want to look for workers. Like I need 10, 15 workers at the same time. No. You have to learn to be your producer, your marketer, your sales rep, everything at the beginning. When you grow, you don't start
And
picking
begin to.
you want to give out to somebody to do for you. Because that's the only way that your 1 million will grow. And look at my analysis. I didn't tell you are making profit. I didn't tell you it's going to grow in 3 months. I didn't tell you it's grow in 6 months. When I started, sir, 5 years ago, if I grind 1 mudu of turmeric, 3 months, I'm not done selling it.
Wow.
Yes. And I had one girl working for me that time. She will always tell me, hey, auntie, this thing a waste of time. I'll tell her, it's not waste of time. Shebi, you continue processing and keep. We're storing. She will keep wondering what is head that could make me to continue this thing. I'll do it on my dining table. But you see, one of the things I did was I was so consistent, and I maintained the fact. I will go to the market and say that turmeric is 150. My own was 300 naira. I'll keep telling myself, how are these people doing it? How are they doing it that they're selling? But today, I'm selling that price they're selling 4 years ago. I don't know if you understand. I
Yes.
gradually, I see it takes a lot of pain for you to do some business and you not take 5,000 naira to spend on yourself. It takes
All
a lot.
right. Yeah. All right,
You need to
Madam Kafila, let me just stop you there. Yeah, thank you very much. But I think you made so much sense in the conversation, and I think our audience and participants, you could add the dots. Like she said, you might not be able to draw profits or draw immediate revenue from our conversation, but of course you can understand the idea. And interesting thing was, even while she spoke, she even opened up some other ideas. Just and again, if you notice, she started just on her dining table. So don't think about the 5 rooms you need to have first. Think about, how can I start? And again, reiterating what Mr. Goma said, start small. Start small. Burn your hands when it is small, yes, and then grow into that big bit. I know we don't have so much time, and I have to wrap up in very few minutes, but I'll just give Madam Kafela the opportunity to ask Mr. Goma his question. And while he's answering, I would want to also beg that he can end that and then just also help us end with a closing remark, and then I come back to others. Yes, so you can ask him your question now.
okay, I can ask him.
Yes, you can.
No, it's Mr. Oyewale I have question for.
Okay, Mr.
Not
Ayewale.
Mr.
Oh, Oh, okay. So, Mr. Goma, you
Basically,
can
my
then you.
question is, I do a lot with imported machines, and sincerely, I want to ask you the question, and I'm really looking for who can do it for me. I have tons of coconut shell, and I want to have a burner that will translate the coconut heat, the coconut shell fire into heat that will translate into heat in a dehydrator, like a converter, converting it to heat for me to be able to have a product from the shell, because the shell is a product. When it's properly burnt, it gives me activated charcoal.
Okay.
So
So, Madam
I need to
Kafila, you are.
so
Hello,
I
you are
need you
very
to
passionate about what
after
you are saying. So
after
what we'll
this
do is,
conversation,
yes, yes,
come back. You need to come back to the drawing table. That's my question for you. Since you are a fabricator, you
and
need to
we will.
start helping people in the coconut line to stop because we export almost everything we use from the sheller, which is a very small machine. Everything you need to start helping us to think inward in the coconut line. And I have a question truly for Mr. Bowman.
Okay.
Grand cereal has been a product, if I may, that's where you're exiting from, has been a life-changing product for a lot of Nigerians, and it has been in business. And you've said that entrepreneurs hands will be burnt when we are working. And I like where you said that sometimes we don't see your failures, but we end up seeing your smiles and we end up seeing you doing well in the market. Meaning that if, as an entrepreneur now, I have a product that is, I'm trying because I don't know why people are not asking you this question. So I'm asking you on their behalf. And I have started this product, and I know it is burning my hand terribly. But my passion is making me to continue to keep my hand in the fire. I need you to advise, because I have friends that are online and I know why I throw this question. To advise them when to remove their hand from the fire. You know it is not giving you that maximum profit yet. You know the market is already complaining about your pricing. But because it's your passion, because people need to think beyond passion, you maintain in the market. So I need your own vast experience to explain to us when things are not working in a certain line that you have started producing, when to stop.
Okay, I think it's when to stop is actually when you are starting. If you take the various phases of setting up a business, right? Okay, there's a first step where you are investigating. Okay, I have this fantastic idea or something. Is there a possible business that can be made there? Okay, these are the ideas, these are the thoughts, these are what it is. And then the next stage is that you've got to do your feasibility and develop. Okay, so these ideas, okay, there's a possible business. But in your feasibility, what kind of business model am I going to do? What's my business plan? What's the kind of structure? What's the kind of financial projection and everything that you have? What are the various steps that will show us that we're making progress? I think people always look at the fact from the financial perspective, but they don't look at the underlying drivers that show whether I'm making progress or not. What's my value proposition, and therefore, what's going to be my plan over a period of time, and what are the things that look that tell me. So I have a projection. Okay, I'm going to sell at X amount. These are the people I'm targeting. This is my break-even volume. Right. So I know that at this level, I'm making a loss, but this is how I know that I'm making progress. That's what helps you to balance your passion, because if you only look at the top line and the bottom line, you will miss some of the indicators that show you whether you're growing or not. And I think that's where the challenge of most businesses are. Some people give up at the point where they're supposed to make the breakthrough. So the usual pattern people expect is that day one, when I launch my business, is a straight line graph and we grow like this. You may find out that I launch and I get some uplift immediately, and then it comes down, and then I now start to grow. The period that is coming down, what is driving that? But what are the other indicators to show that, okay, I am making a business? Are more people buying me? Are more people actually interested? Am I getting feedback?
Oh,
Oh, okay, it's coming
I
back.
think it's coming back. Yes.
And I have an understanding of my break-even point, and that's what helps me to stay focused and to say, okay, this is where we're. So we have the point where we say, you know what, if we've done this for 1 year, 2 years, and we don't get to this particular drivers, we will kill the business. Now, it might not be that your idea is wrong. It might be that you can launch and you are not at a point where the market is ready for you. Today, I use a simple example. Indomie, right? Everybody knows it as a brand everybody eats today. The people who launched or who ran the business, for the first 10 years, they made no profit. And do we know that they're not the first company to launch noodles in Nigeria? They were not
Wow.
the first in the market, right? The people who launched did for a year and a half, didn't see it grow, and you know what? They gave up and they left. Now, these guys launched, and the people who launched at that point now came back into the market. And again, after a few years, they struggled and they eventually gave up. So the thing is, sometimes there's a point where there's a trigger point where your business will take off. So that's why, beyond I have money, beyond I'm making profit, do you have the right cash flow? Are you checking? Do you have the right financials? Do you have some of the basic analysis to say this is the point where I know I break even, I start to make money? So the money I've planned or money I collect from investors or whoever will take us through this period. And then at this point, okay, what if it doesn't work? You've got to know when to call it off and say, you know what, I have missed. If your business came ahead of the time, it might appear as a failure. It's not because you have failed. It's not because the idea was not a good idea. It's just that the idea came ahead of its time, and something else has come up to allow that to happen. So I think it goes back to your planning. At the feasibility stage, you've got to have as one of my this thing, which point will I call it quits? Right? At which point will I say, you know what, I've given it a shot and therefore it's not working? And that's why the concept of, can I plan small? Can I start small and then really start to build to growth when I see that it is growing? So we start with this huge expectation. We invest in a huge warehouse. I tell people a warehouse doesn't sell from day one. A warehouse protects. So where we put in the investment, okay, or we invest in machinery, but the machinery requires huge capacity utilization, right? Do I require a small plant, or do I outsource with from somebody who is going to it's going to cost me more? But if I build volume using somebody's system, by the time I bring in my own, I have sufficient volume to say, you know what, the cost for me will be lower. I want to buy equipment. It's cheaper to get a China equipment, cheaper to get it fabricated. No, what's the running cost? Because we only look at one extent of the cost. The cost of acquisition might be high for some equipment, but maintenance is very low over the course of your using the period. And there's somewhere the cost of acquisition is low, but the cost of maintenance becomes very high and expensive. All of these things have to be factored in to make sure that it works. So I think for me, in rounding up or summarizing for the people who want to do that, I think that it's good to recognize the various stages through which a business grows, for you to understand, okay, I start with my investigation, understanding whether there's a concept or idea. Because I have ₦1,000,000 doesn't mean I jump into it. Does this make sense? Is there money to be made? Is the profit pool something that I can get out of? What are the barriers to entry? Who are the competitors? Where can I find a space? Then I can do my feasibility and develop into a more robust plan. Then I have my intro and startup plan to say, okay, this is what it is. And then there's a phase of maturity and growth. In that phase of maturity and growth is also to understand that I need to have a pull-out plan. If it doesn't work, right, you can say, okay, at this stage, I have given, and there are ways of exiting. I can choose to sell the business the way it is to somebody else, right? Therefore, I can recoup my money, and therefore these people can take it because I've already built it up. So your exit doesn't necessarily mean that I continue, or I can choose to exit and have a small share. It is better to have 20% of 1 billion than to have 100% of 10 billion. And sometimes, this thing of it's my own business, I own it, na me get am. It is my own, I'm the MD CEO. No, 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 no. Titles account for nothing, right? I would rather join another business. What I tell people is that if you have the thinking and the ideas to start a small business and somebody is willing to buy your business, sell it, because then it's your seed capital. I can use that now. I'm starting on a new business. I can then go and do an idea that I can own fully on my. Actually, if I use the example of Steve Jobs, right? He was one of the starters of Apple. Then he was kicked out of the company. He went to form Pixar. Pixar developed products. When he reached a particular stage, he sold it off for huge money. He went back and bought shares in Apple and then took Apple to wherever it is. So don't fall in love with it's dangerous to fall in love with the idea, with the company, with whatever you want to do, that you do not know when to let go. I think it's something that we've got to think about.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Alex Goma. It's been awesome having you here. So for quick remarks, I know we're short of our time by over 6 minutes already. So Mr. Oyewole, I'd just like you to go first, please. Let's try and keep it very short. Just a closing remark.
Okay, thank you for having me. What I would say, basically, Mr. Guma has said a lot, and has covered quite a number of areas. So, but what I would say is that the future, as far as I am concerned, in the agricultural value chain, there's a lot of possibilities, potentials, and future in value addition and processing. But it also requires a lot of knowledge. And so it is important that anyone going to that area should balance the fulcrum between the raw materials and the market, and of course the processing itself. So when you're going to the operate to you're going to processing, do not look at the processing machine processing area alone. Balance it up with many other things that I've mentioned, and but in particular the two pillars of raw materials and market. And I believe that yes, and I believe that you'll be able to, along with other things that I've discussed, you'll be able to understand and fully explore the potentials and the profitability, in that space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oyewole. Nice, nice, nice having you here. Finally, Madam Kafilat, just want to give you a closing remark, please.
All right, I want to tell my beloved Nigerian youth that is a business to dive into. It's not a no. There is hope and there is massive profit in agro processing. Just carve your niche rightly, choose the right business, and source the right equipment. Seek the right advice. And like Mr. Goma said, know when to quit. Severally, we fail because we don't know when to quit. And we also fail because of the kind of attachment we attach ourselves to our business. My advice is it is extremely lucrative, but it doesn't come when you start. It takes perseverance, it takes consistency, it takes dedication, it takes your mindset telling yourself, I am in and I'm in to stay. And sometimes you're in and you're in to stay. You have to know when to remove your hands when the fire is hot. But re-strategizing, being able to be refocus, being able to redirect, is not a bad idea. We have done it. I asked that Mr. Goma that question because I failed woefully in a certain product, and I failed while I thought I was at the top. And trust me, I went back to my drawing book and resized that product and came back to the market, and I'm doing well. And meaning I had to re-strategize. I looked at it that, I failed because I did not think of consumers' pocket
Preference.
while I was considering my packaging. And these are the market determinants when you're doing business. You have to consider the people buying. Can they actually afford to buy this thing at this amount? So at every point in time, we all need to run back to our mentors, have mentors from the beginning that you want to even start a business. There must always be somebody you're looking up to be like, or wants to be, or be in that person's shoe. Like myself, I call myself Dangotress. and people laugh at me. And I know why I do that, because I know what I am aiming to be in the future.
Sure.
And I still want to have vast business. Doesn't mean I want to cut my numbers like him, but there might be things I see in how they run their business that I want to do. But I think today I'm going to also add Alex Goma to my name, because
Awesome.
so I people know me very well, so I attach people's name to my name a lot.
Mm,
So, and I want to tell people that we can grow Nigeria, grow our economy by agro-food processing without not any other thing.
awesome.
Several products, different states with different raw material. Benue has vast fruit. Bringing Kebi has a lot of onions. That is what is it called? Garlic in what is it called in Sokoto State. There's so much onions in Kano. There's so much ginger in Kaduna. We can actually benefit different states. There's a very lovely rice in Abakaliki, rice in Niger State. All these things you can actually just carve your niche. Don't say people are doing it. Like Mr. Goma said, we are millions in Nigeria, billion. And every day people still reproducing in millions.
All
Please,
right.
let's carve our niche and do the right business at the right time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Very passionate speaking from all our panelists. Want to say very big thanks to Mr. Alex Goma. Of course, like they say, it's not just all about age, but the experience also came in how he was able to dish out those things very articulately. Thank you so very much. To Madam Kafila, of course, the passion always there because you are still very much in it. We are very, very glad that you felt very open and very free, to share with us these experiences. In fact, even reaching out to another panelist to say, "Oh, I am doing this," and in my head, I felt, "Oh, this is your business idea. Someone could steal it," but that what didn't even deter you from saying, "No, we have to get this done in Nigeria." We're very, very glad about that, Mr. Ayowale. Thank you very much. I've never seen any engineer. So to say, who they're always very calm. I don't know, maybe because you people have hit a lot of metals together. You just feel very, very calm. But thank you very much for slowly and quietly, just dishing all those things to us. We're really very grateful to have you here. We'll be reaching out from the private sector advisory group in the following days just to thank you even some more. Thank you very much. And to our
What?
distinguished guests and also participants, we just want to re-echo to you. If there are any panelists you would like to have mentor you, just drop your name. And I think it's also been put on the screen also in the chat box. Please just drop it. We'll be able to reach out to this seasoned panelists to be able to guide you. The Business of Agriculture Masterclass continues tomorrow, and it promises to be a very exciting one. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day ahead. Bye-bye.
There's a story to be told, a future to behold. There is more to who we are than what they hear. We have love within our soul, fire in our bones. We've got everything it takes to make it here. There's much more within our soil, more than just our oil. We can grow the food to feed the whole world square. Agriculture is the key. There's treasure in the trees. The time is now.